Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Introduction to Sunbucks for Educational Stakeholders webinar, March 8th, 2024. We'll get started here in a minute. Just want to let you know you are placed on mute upon entering this webinar. If you would like to send in a question, please use your chat section on your control panel. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Cynthia Irvin.
Thank you, Jay, and welcome to all of you, North Carolina's educational stakeholders. We thank you for attending this webinar. My name is Cynthia Irvin. I am the Assistant Director of Food and Nutrition Services. So I do want to just take over to the next slide so we can talk about our time together. So today you will be hearing from myself, and Angela Morrison. Angela Morrison is the newest member to our team. She is our Sunbucks coordinator, but none of the success of the implementation of this program could be possible without the great partnership with our sister Department of Public Instruction. Dr. Lynn Harvey, Janet Johnson, and Diane Delaney and their teams have been critical to the entire process. So we will be covering all the items on this agenda, and by the end of the webinar, we hope that you have a better understanding of the Sunbuck program, its benefits for children, and your role on spreading the word. We will be providing this presentation early next week. So let's just dive in with the next slide. As you are all fully aware, food insecurity is a critical challenge in North Carolina, especially during the hungriest time of the year, the summertime, when kids lose access to school meals. So just to highlight, you know that 1 in 4 children in North Carolina face food insecurity. And we have 60% of the students that are in NSLP schools are on free or reduced price school meals. And then, of course, we have that there's nearly 13% of North Carolina residents live below the poverty line. So the summer months create even more of a challenge. We talked about them losing access to school meals, but also transportation. So one of the great things about our schools is that they bring the students to school where they can access those wonderful meals. But that is not so much available during the summer. And then, of course, it is hard to really afford to buy the groceries for the extra amount of time that you have to feed your students. And I know that I'm talking to the choir when I tell you that there's a major impact. There's adverse childhood development outcomes in many different ways. And you probably can realize that firsthand when you're in school. So let's go to the next slide. Many of you were also involved in the pandemic EBT that provided benefits on a debit-like card to children during the school year and summer during 2022 and 2023, all being a part of the COVID response. The success of this program is demonstrated in serving 1.76 million children, and at the tune of benefits issuances of $2.5 billion. And again, to further validate that success is that there was a 93% spend rate. So only 7% of all the benefits that we distributed was not spent. So kudos for you and that. So now fast forward to 2024, USDA has created, next slide. Fast forward to 2024, USDA has created its 16th food assisted program in 15 years. So it's the first one they've done in 50 years, called Summer EBT. And it has been branded as Sunbucks. Now eligible children in North Carolina will be able to receive $120 to purchase nutritious food during the summer months. Some students will be automatically enrolled while others will have to apply. So let's start with going over the eligibility. Next slide. So as you can see here on this first slide, in order to be eligible, you notice that we first talk about children that are in NSLP schools. So when we think about NSLP schools or National School Lunch Program schools, you can kind of think of that as those schools where students actually, or families for the students, submit applications for free or reduced price meals, and then eligibility is established. And so just this whole slide is just talking about that particular setting. So if you start at the top of this slide and you see that it is NSLP only, students must attend an NSLP school. So that's kind of the first requirement for eligibility. And if we start all the way to the left, then you will see that students, the first group of students, have to participate in one of these federal programs. That's FNS, or Food and Nutrition Services, also known as food stamps, TANF, which in North Carolina it is called Work First, and then Medicaid and households below income of the 185% of income. So you don't really have to worry about that being, because DPI actually makes that decision to determine those that are directly certified and then those that are foster care. If you would notice that they automatically are going to receive the benefit with no further application. So let's set that group aside. The next group of NSLP students that will also be automatically eligible for the program are those that have already been determined as eligible for free or reduced price school meals in the school. They also are going to be they're going to get the benefit automatically without an application. So in this case, students who did not complete an application for free or reduced price school meals, if they would like to get the benefit, they will have to submit an application, and that application will be coming shortly. Next slide. Now we're going to be talking about students that do not attend a National School Lunch Program school. So in this case, you will see that those students that are between the age of 7 and 16 years of age, and that they participate in one of the federally funded programs, whether it's FNS, Work First, or Medicaid and foster care, they will be automatically determined to get the benefit with no further application. Note, if these students outside of the age of 7 to 16, they are not eligible for the program and they cannot apply. So 7 to 16 is the compulsory age for education in North Carolina. And so this group of children really fits within that category. That's the non-NSLP schools. So the next slide, we're going to talk about the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP. So CEP schools are established because there's a certain percentage of students that are on one of the federal programs that are listed in this slide, you know, Workforce, Medicaid, or TANF, and food stamps, or FNS. So it is a universal meal plan where all the children at that school eat free. And I really want to bring some attention here because the Sunbucks is majorly different for CEP students than when we were doing the pandemic EBT. So instead of everyone at a CEP schools getting the Sunbucks, there are a specific group of children that will be automatically eligible, and there are students that have to apply. So let's start on the left. So those students in the CEP schools that are directly certified, again, getting FNS, Work First, Medicaid, or foster care, they will be automatically eligible for the program without application. And then on the right side, you see those students that are not directly certified, and because of the nature of a CEP school, they didn't apply for free or reduced price school meals. In order to be eligible for the SunBucks, they do have to submit an application. So just to kind of go over that, the next slide, I just want to repeat that one more time, because I think this is the message that we have to make sure that the CEP schools are fully aware and the students attending. Unlike PEBT, where all the children at the CEP schools were eligible, SunBucks eligibility is based on individual level for the particular students that are not directly certified. So in a nutshell, I have gone over this information, but keep in mind that in order to be without an application, a student then would have to either be in food and nutrition services, Work First, or Medicaid. And as we are able to determine their eligibility as a foster care, runaway, migrant, and homeless. So I do want to pause there because I know eligibility is kind of a lot. So I wanted to make sure that if there's any particular questions that we could go ahead and answer some of those now.
Hi, Cynthia. So we haven't actually received any questions just yet in the Q&A chat, but if anyone would like to, add anything in there, or if anyone has any questions so far, we'll also have a time for Q&As at the end.
Okay.
But none so far.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. So the next, I want to pass it on to Angela Morrison, who's going to take us through the rest of the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. You can go to the next slide. Actually, one more. All right. So North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and DPI aims to combat hunger, and the 2024 SunBucks program could serve as many as 1 million North Carolina children. And that is by providing benefits that can be used to purchase nutritious foods. This program also has the capacity to inject $120 million into the North Carolina economy in summer 2024. Next slide. So SunBucks will be the third summer meal program for North Carolina children, and it is in addition to the current programs, the congregate and non-congregate meals. SunBucks will transform the summer food strategy into a three-pronged approach and assist in filling the gaps that were mentioned earlier for children who lack access to nutritious foods through either retailers or may have transportation issues which keep them from accessing current summer programs. So all three summer programs will be going on simultaneously and can be used individually or combined in any way. Next slide. So how you can help. One thing, so first of all, you can update or add students' mailing addresses when either requested by the student or caregivers. And it's important because the eligible students for SunBucks, those who are directly certified or streamlined certified, will have their EBT card will be mailed to that mailing address on file. So our SunBucks website is live and will be updated with some additional information on application issuance dates and more. But we are going to talk just a little more on the next slide about applications and data pools. But I just want to say that because data is collected at the local level and is used to confirm eligibility for a child, It's important that it's updated by school level or LEA level staff, so that when changes are submitted or needed, and that's, depending on your SIS update structure. But if you have any questions about that, we can talk about it some more. Just put your questions in the chat. But you can go to the next slide for now. And just Maggie, let me know if we get questions. So the Sunbucks application is still in development, but schools will play a huge role in making a paper version of the application available to students. So DHHS and DPI expect to share a Sunbucks paper application with schools in April 2024. So you can make those paper applications available to students either in your main office or something before the end of the school year. Students will also be able to apply online, and the application for Sunbucks needs to be submitted by August 31st. That is the deadline to apply. So paper applications that are provided to the schools will also come with instructions for where to return those, and they will be processed by DHHS staff, or where we are handling that. I just want to make sure that schools know they will not be processing them. So next slide. So we wanted to provide some reminders revolving around schools for schools data for SIS coordinators, principals, superintendents, etc. So on April 1st, DPI will be pulling aggregate enrollment and student data. Earlier, we mentioned the need for students to have their mailing address updated by March 28th, 29th, the end of March. And we'll also be messaging that to families. And so you should be seeing some of that as well. So this will ensure that eligible students receive their Sunbucks cards at the appropriate mailing address for the summer. For schools that end in May, please pull your data on the last day of school, but no later than June 3rd. And for schools that end in June and later, please pull your data no later than June 3rd. So in general, the regular data pull responsibilities and processes will be followed. DPI will be providing any additional information that you need to know. And the key message that we want to convey today is the timeliness of address updates to accurately mail benefit cards. And then you can see the dates down there as well. Next slide. So pandemic EBT and Sunbucks, they have some similarities, but the data requirements for Sunbucks are a lot simpler. So while pandemic EBT required monthly data pools and had several additional data point requirements, and they could be very burdensome for data managers, Sunbucks will have 3 data pools. 2 data pools as part of the normal operations and 1 final data pool at the end of each school year. It does not at this time have any additional attendance level requirements, and USDA has provided some operational flexibilities in 2024. So we will let you know of any changes that happen for 2025, but we don't anticipate any at this time. Next slide. Okay. Before we go on, any questions?
Yes, we got quite a few questions in the chat.
Uh-oh.
So hopefully they're all good questions. They're all good questions. The first one is from Susan Kelly, and she is wondering who will be responsible for helping families complete the application if they're at a CEP school, or where will these applications be available?
So the schools will be provided either paper applications and of course information on where they could direct families to go online, but we are asking school officials and such to send any questions to DHHS, and we'll provide that information to you as well.
Awesome, thank you, Angela.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is also from Susan Kelly, and she's wondering if a parent or a family submits an online application in June or July, Will the card still be sent to the address from the school from March 31st, or will they consider the updated address that was provided in the application?
You know,
I can
that's
take
a good
that.
question. Okay.
I can take that. So the online application, the address they put in the online application would be used for their card distribution.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the priority of addresses, so if you're submitting an online summer EBT application or a paper application, but we're anticipating that most will be submitted online, that address will take precedence no matter, you know, what they have in their FNS case or on file with their school, what have you. And then separately from that, if they're, you know, in the automatically eligible group that does not have to apply, the address used is going to be the one on file with their federal assistance program, for example, you know, FNS, also known as food stamps, their TANF Work First, or their Medicaid. And if they are determined to be automatically eligible just because they have, you know, an FRP application on file with their school, or if they're experiencing homelessness, if they're in a migrant situation, or, you know, run away, then the school address will be used. I know this is a lot of information, but if the child is in foster care, no matter what, their card will be sent to their local DSS office so that their caseworker can facilitate getting that to them. So those are kind of all the different ways that someone might get their card. And the next question is asking, what do families do if they have an address change after March 28th? Who do we tell them to call? And a little bit of a winky face saying, hopefully not the schools.
So there's a lot of different, Maggie just went over this whole process about how we're going to be looking for an address change. So I think what they should do is attempt to call our call center, and you'll get all the information later about that call center. But we are planning on kind of sticking to kind of that cadence of where we send that based on what Maggie just said. But yes, we will have a call center that they can call and provide that information. And it could be that we instruct them where it went, and hopefully at some point maybe they can retrieve it that way, or we can work out replacement cards if we need to.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Cynthia. The next question is from Kate Hansen, and she is wondering which students or families need to have updated addresses in PowerSchool before March 28th. She's wondering if that applies to A, students who are on TANF, SNAP, or Medicaid, or B, students who are enrolled in FRP meals, or C, students who will submit a Sunbucks application. And that is a great question.
It's a great question, but Kate, it was really hard to identify exactly who to make this pitch to. So we did it broadly and asked all students to make sure their mailing address, or all families to make sure their mailing address was correct. And so this will be, even in our federal programs, we're telling them, make sure your address is correct. And so at this moment, the message that we're sending is, everyone make sure your mailing address is correct in your school.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Cynthia. I am just scrolling. We got quite a few questions. Next one from Susan Kelly. Will students who are identified as McKinney-Vento, also known as homeless students, automatically be eligible? And if so, what did they do about their frequent moves and address changes?
That is a good question. And basically the way we have established, or procedure we established for homeless students. And again, it really depends on what program they're in. They already have this process set up in our food and nutrition services, is that if someone identifies that they do not have a stable residence, the card goes to the the Division of Social Services office within that county. And that's where the student would pick it up, or the student family would pick it up. So probably if they're on a federal program already, they know this. But if they're just on regular free and reduced price school meals, this is something that we can make sure that we socialize with them as well.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. The next question is asking, for families who are on SNAP or FNS and already have an EBT card, will the benefits for all kids be added to that existing EBT card? And for families with kids on Medicaid, will they get a SunBucks EBT card for each child enrolled in Medicaid, or is there some sort of household matching and they get one EBT card per household? So two-parter question. The first one, where will FNS beneficiaries get their SunBucks benefits? Second question, if there's multiple kids in the household, do they each get their own card, or will there be one for the whole household?
So anyone who's currently on FNS, it is our plan to put it on the head of the household's card. So 5 children within that household, they all will be, this SunBucks will be added to their current EBT card. And if they're on Medicaid, they don't typically get FNS, they will get a summer SunBucks card. Or anyone who is not on FNS will get a SunBucks card.
Yeah,
did that answer all the parts?
Yeah, I think just the one minor thing to add. So in general, NCDHHS will try to send one card per household in instances where, you know, there's not that FNS EBT card already available to accept those benefits. So if there's 3 kids in a household and they either, you know, are tagged with the same family ID and DPI data, or NCFAST is able to determine that these children are all in the same household, one card will be sent to that address. There may be a few instances where there's an imperfect data match and, you know, you might get 2 cards for one household, but that's fairly rare. Okay, the next question is from Trip Warren, and he's saying that he lost some connectivity during the data poll section. He's wondering what data is pulled and will the data come from the local school nutrition office?
So Trip, all the data would be the normal data pools that is pulled already, and DPI will be pulling that data in their normal cadences of pulling data, but we do have like some time limits. So we're not asking the local schools to do anything different than what they typically do. I think the point of what we're trying to accomplish here today is making sure that that everyone understands the criticalness to make sure we have the right mailing address and give kind of a good overview of the program so that you can actually talk to families about it.
Great, thanks, Cynthia. The next question is from Lisa Payne. This is a fabulous question. If a family is not directly certified, but they have completed a local school-based free and reduced price meals application, will they be included in the data pool?
And I'm assuming this is a regular NSLP school, not a CEP school. I'm going to answer it based on that. So I think your question is relating to at a regular NSLP school that's not considered CEP. So then you're saying if they completed a free and reduced application and they have been established as eligible, then my answer is yes, they will be part of the data pool.
And it looks like Lisa's followed up by saying that they are in a CEP district offering free or reduced price meals application. So we may have to follow up on that.
I think we do, but generally we have established that we didn't think that anyone at a CEP school was accepting the free and reduced price school meals applications that gets reported in PowerSchool to DPI. So generally we have said only those students that are directly certified at a CEP school will be in the data. I think that's the stance that we have taken. So it's best to be safe than sorry, to tell that group that is not directly certified to still complete the application and let us do the deduplication.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. This next question is coming from Ashley Garrett, and she's wondering if this presentation will be shared with the attendees today.
Yes, it is our plan to share this presentation with the handouts that are available on the webinar tool. We plan to share those early next week.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Emer Smith, and they're wondering if we can go back to the slide quickly with the dates when information will be pulled. Jay, is that something you'll be able to toss us back to? I can't remember the exact slide numbers.
Yes.
Great.
Just tell me when. Back.
Let's see. This I think is the right slide. Thanks, Jay. Okay, and our next question, it's from Emer Smith, and I think they're looking for some clarification. They've heard that DHHS will have an application for students who do not qualify for food stamps or other means. And so maybe I think that they're asking about just kind of who the summer EBT or Sunbucks application is for. Cynthia, do you mind giving an overview of that?
Okay, sure. So the summer EBT application is available for students that attend an NSLP school. So that's the first requirement. They have to be in an NSLP school. And I'm also throwing CEP in that too. So it's those students who are not directly certified, but think that wants to apply for Sunbucks. So any students in an NSLP school that wants to apply for Sunbucks that are not directly certified can apply. So what's different in a community eligibility school is that all students that are not directly certified will not automatically get the benefit. In order to get the benefit, they will have to apply. So in a regular school that is regular NSLP, if you're already free or reduced price or you're directly certified, you should be streamlined. All others, if you're interested, you have to apply. CEP school, all directly certified, don't have to apply. But those that did not apply or couldn't apply because of the nature of a CEP, they have to apply.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. And we have just, I think, one more question that we haven't answered yet, and this is from Kate Hansen. She's wondering, for families who are on Medicaid, TANF, or SNAP, do they also have to update their address info with DSS? Or if they're updated in PowerSchool, will the PowerSchool addresses be used?
It's a good question. So, Kate, we are going to use whatever is in the FNS case, or Medicaid or Work First, and those families are usually contacted every 6 months. We are going to send some information out to them and tell them to update their address, but we feel like that address is probably the one that most likely where they get their information on a daily basis or monthly basis. But we feel like that's updated. We are going to send out some advertisement for them to make sure theirs is updated as well. So the answer is yes. We are going to ask them to make sure theirs is updated. But the point of this particular webinar is to make sure whatever is in school, because that data is being pulled from the DPI system. We wanted to make sure we have the most up-to-date addresses there.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I think I'm scrolling through to make sure that we didn't miss any, but I think those are all the questions that we have so far. We could pause for another minute or so to see if any others come in, but I think we're all caught up.
Okay, do you want to go to the slide past the question slide? There is some information there. There we go. So the website is live. There is some information currently out on social media, as well as on the Carolina Hunger Initiative's website. And if you have any questions after this webinar, email the dcfw.sunbucks and email address, and I will respond to you. Also, you will receive this information as well as the handouts and some other information early to mid next week. So be looking for that to come to you.
Maggie, are there any other questions that has come in?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for spending this time with us to learn more about our SunBucks. You are a very important part of making sure that the students and families are made aware of some of these asks, like knowing that they are going to need to have their addresses up to date. And when we get the paper applications to schools, we're planning on sending them to the main office, letting people know, the students or families know, if they don't have access to the electronic version or been able to pull that down, that they will have paper applications in schools that they can pick up and send back to us. But I want to really thank all of you for your partnership. I thank you for your passion for the students that you serve and all the children in North Carolina. Well, thank you, and you all have a great weekend. Bye-bye.